Dear brothers, what's up, boys? All right. So, the last, we're going to call it week and a half, my wife and I have been very diligent about not really watching a whole lot, if any, TV at night. Really, the only thing that we've watched was some sports when the Olympics were still on. And we caught a couple of the preseason football games. But even then, we have been in this habit, and we've done this in the past, of when we get home at night, we'll have dinner, we'll work out if we didn't do it first thing in the morning. And then when we're done with that, we go into the living room, put on some chill music, jazz, classical, etc., and we just read. And she's reading some summer love novels, although she has an affinity for the fantasy stuff as much as I do. I have been cranking through several different book series, fantasy naturally. And what I have noticed is that both of us, my wife and I, have had, by far, I have noticed specifically with her, myself included, but specifically with my wife, that she is more cheery, if you will, before we go to bed and in the morning. She has there's less anxiety, there's less stress, there's less of that nervousness or worry that kind of pops up before work that all of us have experienced in some capacity. And I know that this experiment has been done in various different meta-analyses, and we've collected data on all this stuff, and we understand that, what screen time kind of brings to us. However, I have to tell you guys that if you're not imploring some kind of time limit on device usage, phones, social media, TV included, I think at this point, over the last, let's call it decade of me going in and out of doing it, I'm not sure there's anything that helps alleviate a lot of stress and anxiety more than that. I think that we have become so accustomed to just turning something on and watching it somewhat mindlessly that it's just second nature. But it's sapping our energy. It's sapping our emotional control. And I talk about this with politics all the time. People get so caught up in what they're reading through on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and it consumes them. It creates that anxiety. And I know firsthand how beautiful it is when you just turn those things off for a little while. You can still listen to the news. You can still get all the information you need, but you don't have to get it constantly shoved down your throat. And this is especially true before you go to bed, because that sleep you get is necessary. You want to be strong. You want to get stronger. You want your mind to work well. You want to live not only well, but long and effectively. You have to be able to sleep at night. And you have lots of other things impact that, kids and what have you. And so I know that people love to watch shows at night. I know that that can be a big part of people's lives, and I get that. I'm not saying that you have to limit those things, but I think for the most part, we overindulge ourselves in media. And I have found, certainly an N of one, an individual study, if you will, my life is substantially better when every night, my wife and I take that last hour or so before bedtime and we just read together. We sit there. I was thinking to myself last night, we were sitting down. We don't have a fireplace. We live in Florida. It's too damn hot for that stuff. But we put like this little fireplace on the TV, and it's got jazz music playing, and It's not the real thing, but I gotta be honest, it's pretty nice. And so I'm sitting there, I'm reading, I engulfed the book series, the first book in the book series of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill yesterday. Fabulous book for anyone interested. But I'm sitting there, I look at my dogs. They are both snuggled together on their bed in the corner of our downstairs living room. I look over at my wife. She's passed out, just comfortable, sleepy, her book's in her hands. I've got a little bit of music playing, and it was one of those moments I had where I just felt immense amount of blessing. And I'm just looking at my wife and just couldn't put into words how much in that moment I just loved her and appreciated her. I looked at my dogs who drive me nuts, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love those animals. I'm looking at our home going, what a blessing this is. And then I thought to myself, how often does this happen? And more than that, how often do I dismiss it or I don't see it? I don't take a second to kind of smell the roses. And it struck me that one of the reasons I do that I don't do that, is because I get far too caught up in phases of life or in small periods of time, in media, in TV, in looking for stuff for our house, or just doing stuff that's somewhat mindless, but it's sapping my time and energy, and it's not allowing me to see the beauty of things. There's an old picture, and I think it does illustrate the point, so I'll use it. There's an old picture of, it looks like a bunch of people standing behind a barricade, kind of what you would see at like a marathon or something, and they all have their phones out. They're looking at something, or they're videoing some kind of person singing or whatever. And it's mostly a bunch of younger people, under the age of 50 all the way down to maybe 18. And there's a single old lady who's standing at the front, and she's just a big smile on her face, but she's the only one who didn't have a phone in her hand videoing whatever they were looking at. And the caption is something along the lines of, sometimes you just need to enjoy the moment. And that struck me last night as I was sitting there. Like, my dogs were cuddling, which was just friggin' cute. Who doesn't love puppies cuddling? You kidding me? And I was like, I should take a picture of that. That'll be great. And then I kind of had a moment where I was like, no, I don't. This is my moment. I'm just going to enjoy it and love it and look at them and just count to myself the blessings I have. And it's very freeing to have that. To be able to just say, I'm in this moment. I'm enjoying this moment. I'm not distracted in this moment. And so today, I really want you guys to think about where your time goes, especially at night. A lot of you have children, and so your nights are consumed with hanging out with them and being with them. And so I would even double down on that encouragement. Spend that time with them, play with them, go into their playrooms, play with their toys, go outside, run around. And then when everyone goes to bed, that can be a really easy time to try and shut down and scroll through Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I would really encourage you not to do that. Read a book, listen to maybe an audiobook. Some people really like doing that at night, but I really encourage you to just read at night. It doesn't have to be something that's, nonfiction, that's really deep and is making you question reality. It certainly could be. But, I have found with myself and with buddies of mine, other men that I know, and our research does bear this out, that just reading and getting away from screens for a little while is vital, especially before you go to bed. We know that, screen time prior to bed impacts how we sleep. Even if we think we slept well, we don't sleep as well as we think. Our deep sleep is impacted. And that is a problem when it comes to being effective as men. But read something. I love reading books like The Hobbit before bed, or Lord of the Rings series, or, find something that you enjoy. Find a new book series and read it. I am unfortunately notorious for, if I find a book I like, aka the one that I just started, I'll stay up till like 1 a.m. reading it, which is not good. That also impacts my sleep. But I don't feel as hungover the next day as if I've watched a bunch of stuff or I've just been scanning through my phone. And so I know I talk on here a lot about social media, and I know that I use it. I know lots of people use it, but it can be such a big drain on your resources that you're losing time to things that you could be doing. Journal at night. A great time right before bed. Write down how that day went. Write down things you're struggling with. Pray. It doesn't just have to be reading, but it needs to be something that's not attuned to some screen that's kind of just mindlessly pulling your resources. So I would really challenge all of you today to try to implement that. Talk to your spouse about it. If you live alone, it's even easier for you to do it yourself. But that would be my big encouragement today, guys, is help yourselves out a little bit. And I promise you, it is truly remarkable to see the difference in both my wife and I's personalities and behavior just from taking some time at night to ourselves. Even the last couple of nights, my wife has said how much she loves what we've been doing, how much she just feels better at nighttime when we're just reading together. It feels wholesome, feels comfortable. You can just tell that her whole demeanor, not that she's ever in an ugly mood, but she's a woman. And so they have their ways of doing things. But there's just like an aura that comes off of her. And all that we've done is just change how we kind of do our night times. And it's made a substantial difference in our lives. So I'm going to leave you guys with that today. I love you all. God bless. Be strong. Let's stay after it. Let's get a big day in for today. Hopefully some of you have already gotten your workouts in. That's it. Love you, boys. We'll see you.